The fluorescent lights of St. Mary's emergency room burned into my retinas as I clutched my abdomen, doubled over in the waiting room chair. Pain radiated through my lower right side, sharp and unrelenting, like someone had inserted a hot poker between my ribs and was twisting it with every breath. "Babe, seriously?" Derek's voice cut through the haze of my agony, his tone laced with irritation rather than concern. "We're supposed to be at dinner with my parents in 45 minutes. This is the third time you've pulled something like this. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you." I looked up at him through watery eyes, my vision blurred from the pain that had been building for hours. "Derek, I can barely stand. Something's really wrong." He rolled his eyes, his designer watch catching the harsh hospital lighting as he checked the time again. "You said the same thing about that headache last month, and the week before that you were convinced you had food poisoning. You're being dramatic again, Maya." The words stung worse than the physical pain. 3 years together, and this was how he saw me, a collection of exaggerations and inconveniences. I pressed my hand harder against my side, feeling the heat radiating from my skin through the thin fabric of my blouse. "Sir, we need you to fill out these forms while we wait for the doctor." A nurse approached, her eyes sympathetic as they landed on me, clearly recognizing genuine distress when she saw it. Derek snatched the clipboard with barely concealed annoyance. "How long is this going to take? We have important plans." The nurse's expression hardened slightly. "We'll get to your girlfriend as soon as possible. The pain she's describing could indicate appendicitis or something equally serious." "It's probably just gas," Derek muttered, loud enough for me to hear, but quiet enough to maintain plausible deniability. He started scribbling on the forms with aggressive strokes, his jaw clenched in that way that told me I'd be hearing about this inconvenience for weeks. "Before we begin, I want to take a moment to thank each of you for being part of this incredible journey. If you're enjoying these stories of empowerment, consider subscribing. It's completely free and helps us build this amazing community. Let's dive in." Another wave of pain crashed through me, so intense that I couldn't suppress the small cry that escaped my lips. The woman sitting across from us looked up with concern, but Derek just sighed heavily, the sound of a man whose patience had been thoroughly exhausted. "You know what?" He stood abruptly, tossing the half-completed forms onto the empty chair beside me. "I can't do this right now, Maya. My parents flew in from Boston specifically for this dinner. They're already at the restaurant. You clearly want attention, so here, stay and get it from the hospital staff." I stared at him, momentarily too shocked to process what was happening. "You're leaving? I'll come back and pick you up after dinner." He was already pulling out his phone, presumably to call an Uber. "Text me when you're done with your drama. And Maya?" He paused, looking down at me with something that looked unsettlingly close to contempt. "This is exactly why we need to have that conversation I've been putting off. This neediness, this constant need for validation. It's exhausting." Then he was gone, his expensive leather shoes clicking against the linoleum as he strode out of the emergency room without looking back. I sat there, forms scattered on the chair, tears streaming down my face. The whether from the physical pain or the emotional devastation, I couldn't tell anymore. The nurse who had spoken to Derek earlier appeared at my side, her hand gentle on my shoulder. "Honey, let me help you with those forms. And for what it's worth, that man is an idiot." I managed a weak smile through my tears. "He's probably right. I probably am being dramatic. No, Her voice was firm, kind. "You're in pain, and you deserve to be taken care of. Now, let's get you seen by a doctor, okay?" 20 minutes later, I was in an exam room, changed into a hospital gown that tied in the back and left me feeling more vulnerable than I already did. Dr. Patricia Chen, a woman in her early 50s with kind eyes and efficient movements, pressed carefully on my abdomen. "How long have you had this pain?" she asked, her fingers probing the tender area near my right hip. "It started this morning, kind of dull, but in the last 3 hours, it's gotten much worse." "And your boyfriend brought you in?" I laughed bitterly. "He brought me and then left. Important dinner plans." Dr. Chen's expression remained professionally neutral, but I caught a flicker of something, disapproval perhaps, in her eyes. "I'm ordering a CT scan. Your white blood cell count is elevated, you have a fever, and based on your symptoms and my examination, I'm quite concerned about your appendix." "So it's not just gas?" The words came out more sarcastically than I'd intended. "Definitely not gas." Dr. Chen made notes on her tablet. "If it is appendicitis, which I strongly suspect, you'll need surgery tonight. Is there someone else I can call for you? Family? A friend?" I thought about my options. My parents were on a cruise somewhere in the Mediterranean, unreachable for another week. My best friend Jenna was in Seattle for a work conference. My sister lived 3 states away with 2 kids under 5. "I'll be okay," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. The CT scan confirmed Dr. Chen's suspicions. Acute appendicitis, inflammation already significant, surgery needed immediately. As they prepped me and explained the procedure, I sent Derek a text. "It's appendicitis. Having emergency surgery tonight." His response came 15 minutes later, as they were, wheeling me toward the operating room. "Okay, I'll check in tomorrow. Dad's telling the story about the fishing trip. Can't really leave." I stared at the message, something cold and clear settling in my chest beneath the pre-surgical anxiety. This was who Derek was. This was who he'd always been. I'd just been too invested in the relationship, too committed to making it work, to see it clearly. The anesthesiologist, a gentleman named Dr. Rashid, noticed my expression as he prepared the IV. "Bad news?" "No," I said, surprising myself with the steadiness of my voice. "Actually, I think it might be clarity." I woke up in recovery to the sound of machines beeping steadily and the soft murmur of nurses conferring nearby. My abdomen felt sore, tight, but the sharp, twisting pain was gone. A different kind of ache had taken its place, the deep, hollow feeling of a relationship dying in real time. "Maya, can you hear me?" A nurse leaned over me, checking my vitals. "Surgery went perfectly. Dr. Chen will be by in a bit to talk to you. Your appendix was quite inflamed. Another few hours and it could have ruptured." So, it had been serious, potentially life-threatening. And Derek had called me dramatic and left to have dinner with his parents. They moved me to a regular room around midnight. The hospital was quiet, settled into that peculiar stillness that only exists in the small hours of the morning. I lay in the dark, processing everything, when my phone buzzed. "Derek, how'd it go?" The casualness of the message, sent hours after my surgery, was almost funny in its complete lack of self-awareness. I typed and deleted several responses before settling on simple facts. "Fine. Staying overnight for observation." Derek. "Cool. Parents say hi. We're at the hotel bar. Man, you should have heard Dad's fishing story. Classic." I turned my phone face down on the bedside table and stared at the ceiling tiles, counting the small perforations in each square. Somewhere between tiles 47 and 63, I made a decision. The next morning, Dr. Chen checked my incisions and reviewed post-operative care instructions. "You did great," she said warmly, "but you'll need someone to stay with you for at least the first 24 hours after discharge. No driving, no heavy lifting, plenty of rest." "My boyfriend will be here," I said automatically, then caught myself. Would he? As if summoned by the thought, Derek appeared in the doorway around 10 a.m., holding a small bouquet of grocery store flowers that still had the price sticker on the plastic wrapping. "Hey, babe." He leaned in to kiss my forehead, a gesture that felt performative, like he was checking a box on a list of boyfriend obligations. "How are you feeling?" "Like I had surgery," I said flatly. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. He missed the edge in my voice entirely. "Well, you're tough. You'll bounce back quick." He set the flowers on the windowsill without looking for a vase. "So listen, I've been thinking. Last night really highlighted some issues we need to address." I stared at him, genuinely curious about where this was going. "Issues?" "Yeah." He settled into the chair beside my bed, his posture that of someone about to deliver a prepared speech. "This pattern of health scares and emergencies. It's becoming a problem, Maya. My parents even noticed. They asked why you weren't at dinner, and when I explained, my mom actually said she remembers you missing their anniversary party last year because of a migraine." "I had a migraine that put me in bed for 2 days," I said slowly, my voice carefully controlled. "And now I've had emergency surgery. These aren't fake emergencies, Derek." "I'm not saying they're fake." He backtracked quickly, but his tone suggested he was absolutely saying that. "I'm saying there's a pattern. Stress-induced symptoms, psychosomatic responses. My mom suggested you might benefit from therapy. You know, to work through whatever's making you so anxious all the time." The audacity was breathtaking. I'd been literally gutted the night before, and he was here suggesting I needed therapy for being dramatic. "Your mom suggested therapy," I repeated. "She's a psychiatrist, babe. She knows what she's talking about." Derek reached for my hand, and I let him take it, studying his face like I was seeing him for the first time. "Look, I love you, but this neediness thing is getting old. I need a partner who's independent, who doesn't fall apart every time I have work obligations or family commitments. I had appendicitis, Derek. This time, sure. But what about all the other times? The headaches, the stomach issues, the anxiety attacks?" He squeezed my hand, clearly thinking he was being supportive. "I think you use these health issues to manipulate situations when things aren't going your way." Something inside me went very quiet and very still. It was like watching a building implode. All the support structures giving way at once, everything collapsing inward into a space that was suddenly empty and clean. "You think I manipulate you with health issues. I think you don't realize you're doing it," he said, his voice taking on that patronizing tone he used when he thought he was being the reasonable one. "It's probably subconscious. That's why therapy could really help." Dr. Chen chose that moment to return, her eyes taking in the scene with the sharp assessment of someone who'd seen every possible family dynamic play out in hospital rooms. "Mr. she prompted. "Morrison. Derek Morrison." He stood, extending his hand with the confident charm he used in professional settings. "Maya's boyfriend." "I see." Dr. Chen shook his hand briefly before turning to me. "Maya, I wanted to go over your discharge instructions personally. You'll need bed rest for the next few days, no strenuous activity for 2 weeks, and someone needs to monitor you for the first 24 hours in case of complications." "I'll take care of her," Derek said immediately. Dr. Chen's gaze shifted to him, and I saw something in her expression that gave me a small spark of satisfaction. That's good, because this was a serious surgery. Her appendix was severely inflamed. If she'd waited much longer, she let the implication hang in the air. We'd be having a very different conversation about peritonitis and extended hospital stays. I watched Derek process this, saw the moment where he realized he'd left me with a potentially life-threatening condition to go have dinner and drinks. To his credit, he had the grace to look uncomfortable. "Right. Well, I'm here now," he said. "Excellent." Dr. Chen's tone suggested she found him anything but excellent. "Maya, I'll have the nurse bring your discharge papers. Take it easy, follow the instructions, and call immediately if you experience fever, increased pain, or any signs of infection." After she left, Derek checked his watch. "So when can we get you out of here? I've got a conference call at 2. "You have a conference call." "Yeah, it's important. West Coast client. But I can do it from your place while you rest." My place? Not our place. We'd been together 3 years, but he'd never suggested moving in together. In fact, he'd actively discouraged it whenever I brought it up, citing his need for personal space and independence. The nurse came with discharge papers and a wheelchair. Derek signed where he was supposed to sign, nodding seriously as she reviewed care instructions he clearly wasn't fully listening to. The ride to my apartment was quiet. Derek spent most of it on his phone, typing rapid-fire responses to what I assumed were work emails. I stared out the window, watching the city slide past, and thought about how I'd spent 3 years making excuses for moments exactly like this. He helped me upstairs. To his credit, he did actually help, and got me settled on the couch with pillows and blankets. Then he immediately retreated to my kitchen table with his laptop, plugging in earbuds for his conference call. I lay there, listening to his muffled voice discussing quarterly projections and market strategies, and I thought about last night. About being in pain and scared and facing surgery alone because he'd prioritized a dinner. About his mother, who'd met me exactly 4 times. Diagnosing me with attention-seeking behavior. About the word dramatic being wielded like a weapon every time I expressed a need or showed vulnerability. My phone buzzed. Jenna, texting from Seattle. "OMG, just saw your Instagram story from the hospital. Are you okay? What happened?" I frowned. I hadn't posted anything to Instagram. I opened the app and felt my stomach drop. Derek had posted a photo, a selfie of himself looking concerned, with me barely visible in the hospital bed behind him, clearly groggy from anesthesia. The caption read, "When your girl has a health scare but you're there for her, yow relationship goals. Best boyfriend, yow support system." The comments were already rolling in. Derek's friends congratulating him on being such a great boyfriend. His coworker commenting, "You're one of the good ones, man." His mother had even liked it. I stared at the post, something hot and sharp rising in my chest. He'd left me alone during surgery, shown up the next morning to lecture me about being dramatic, and then posted this performance of devotion for social media points. "Derek," I called out. He held up one finger, "Wait," and continued talking into his earbuds about conversion rates. I waited. 5 minutes, 10, 15. Finally, he pulled out one earbud. "What's up, babe? I'm kind of in the middle of something." The Instagram post. "Oh yeah." His face lit up. "Got so many likes. Everyone thinks it's great how I'm taking care of you. You left me alone during surgery to have dinner with your parents." His expression shifted, irritation creeping back in. "Are we really doing this again? I explained that?" It was important, Maya, and I came back, didn't I? I'm here now. You posted a fake narrative on social media for likes. It's not fake. I am here taking care of you. Jesus, Maya, why do you always have to twist things? He stood up, pacing my small living room. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Nothing is ever good enough for you. I take time off work to make sure you're okay, and you're attacking me about an Instagram post? You didn't take time off work. You're literally on a conference call right now. A call I could have taken from the office, but I chose to be here with you instead. His voice was rising, that edge of righteous indignation that appeared whenever I called out his behavior. Do you know how many guys would have just left you to deal with this alone? But no, I'm here, rearranging my schedule, and you're acting like I'm the bad guy. I looked at him, really looked at him. The expensive haircut, the designer clothes that he constantly complained about paying for while suggesting I needed to contribute more to our dates, the watch that cost more than my monthly rent. Derek Morrison, 32 years old, senior account manager at a prestigious marketing firm, the man I'd spent 3 years trying to be perfect enough for. You're right, I said quietly. He stopped pacing, surprised. I am? You're absolutely right. I've been unfair to you. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say unfair exactly, but no, I have been. I've expected you to be someone you're not. Someone who sees me as a priority rather than an inconvenience. Someone who shows up when things are hard instead of when they're Instagram-worthy. I pulled the blanket off my legs, slowly sitting up despite the pull of the incisions. I've been asking you to care about me in ways you're clearly not capable of. Maya, what are you? I think you should go, Derek. He laughed, but it sounded uncertain. You're being dramatic again. You just had surgery. You need someone here. I need someone who actually wants to be here. That's not you. I met his eyes, and I could see him trying to figure out if this was another one of my episodes that would blow over if he just waited it out. I'm serious. We're done. I want you to leave. You're not thinking clearly. It's probably the pain medication. He moved toward me, hands outstretched in a placating gesture. Let's talk about this tomorrow when you're feeling better. I'm feeling better now than I have in months, I said, and realized it was true. Despite the surgical pain, despite everything, I felt clearer than I had since. When? Since before Derek, maybe. I'm not your girlfriend anymore. Please leave. This is insane. His tone shifted from patronizing to angry. You're seriously breaking up with me because I went to one dinner? Because of one Instagram post? This is exactly the kind of unstable behavior I was talking about. You left me alone during emergency surgery, Derek. That's not one dinner. That's a fundamental lack of care. I came back. He was shouting now, and I realized I'd never actually broken up with him before. In 3 years, no matter what he did, I'd always been the one to apologize, to smooth things over, to make it work. I'm here now, rearranging my whole day for you, and this is how you thank me? Thank you for coming back, I said evenly. Now please leave. For a moment, I thought he might actually refuse, but then his phone buzzed. The conference call probably, wondering where he went, and something calculating crossed his face. Fine. He grabbed his laptop and charger with aggressive movements. But don't come crying to me when you realize what a mistake this is. You're not exactly overwhelmed with options, Maya. You think someone else is going to put up with your constant neediness, your health drama? Good luck with that. He stormed toward the door, then turned back. And by the way, my mom was right about the therapy thing. You should really look into it. The door slammed behind him. I sat in the silence of my apartment, my hand pressed gently against my bandaged abdomen, and waited to feel regret. Sadness, maybe. Some sense of loss for the 3 years I'd just ended. Instead, I felt light. My phone buzzed. "Jenna, call me when you can. What's going on?" I smiled, typing back. "Long story. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. Just had emergency surgery and an emergency breakup." Jenna. "What? Calling you now?" The call came through immediately. "Okay, start from the beginning and don't leave anything out," Jenna demanded. "Emergency surgery? Breakup? Girl, I leave you alone for 2 days." I told her everything. The pain, the hospital, Derek leaving, the surgery, his Instagram post, the breakup. With each detail, I heard Jenna's reactions ranging from horrified gasps to creative profanity. "I'm catching the first flight back," she declared when I finished. "You just had surgery. You shouldn't be alone." "Jenna, you're in the middle of a conference. Maya Elizabeth Rodriguez, you listen to me. That absolute walnut of a human left you alone during surgery. I am not leaving you alone to recover. My presentation is tomorrow morning, and then I'm on a plane. I'll be there by tomorrow night." The use of my full name meant she was serious. "Okay," I said softly, suddenly fighting tears. "That would be really nice, actually." Of course it would. That's what people who actually love you do. They show up. I heard her typing in the background. "Okay, booked. I'll be landing at 8 p.m. tomorrow. Do you need anything before then? Can you have food delivered? Are you taking your pain meds?" We talked for another hour. Jenna making me laugh despite the soreness in my abdomen, making plans for my recovery, strategizing how to handle the inevitable fallout. Because Derek wouldn't let this go quietly, I knew that. He'd need to control the narrative to make sure everyone knew I was the unstable one who'd thrown away a good relationship. But lying in bed that night, medicated and sore and alone in my apartment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Certain. Certain that I'd made the right choice. Certain that I deserved better. Certain that being alone was better than being with someone who made me feel alone. I didn't know it then, but that certainty would be tested in ways I couldn't imagine. Because Derek Morrison didn't handle rejection well, and over the next few months, I would discover exactly how far he'd go to prove he was the victim in our story. But that night, in the quiet dark of my room, I just let myself rest. The appendix was gone. The toxic relationship was gone. And for the first time in 3 years, I could breathe freely. My phone lit up one more time. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, Maya. This is Dr. Chen. I hope it's okay that I got your number from your file. I just wanted to check on you personally and make sure you're managing okay. Also, and I hope this isn't overstepping, but I've been a doctor for 27 years, and I've seen a lot of partners in that ER. What I saw last night concerned me, not medically, but personally. If you ever need to talk or need resources, please reach out. Take care of yourself. Patricia." I stared at the message, feeling tears prick my eyes. A doctor I'd met for a few hours cared more about my well-being than the man I'd spent 3 years with. I saved her number and texted back. "Thank you. That means more than you know. And for what it's worth, I ended it today. Maya." Her response was immediate. "Good. You deserve someone who shows up. Feel better." I fell asleep with my phone in my hand, the beginning of something new settling into the spaces where Derek's presence had been. I had no idea that in 6 months, I'd be standing in the back of a church, watching that same man marry someone else, about to make a choice that would finally, completely close this chapter. But that was still to come. Tonight was just the first step. And sometimes the first step is recognizing that you've been walking in the wrong direction all along. 6 months had passed since that night in the hospital. 6 months of healing, growing, and discovering who I was without Derek Morrison's voice in my head, telling me I was too much, too dramatic, too needy. The recovery from surgery had been smoother than the recovery from the relationship. Jenna had stayed with me for a week, working remotely from my couch and ensuring I took my medications on time. She'd also been there for the fallout, because Derek hadn't taken the breakup quietly. Within 48 hours of leaving my apartment, he'd launched a full social media campaign painting himself as the devoted boyfriend who'd been blindsided by an unstable, ungrateful woman. The Instagram post of him at my hospital bedside stayed up, accompanied by new posts about knowing your worth and sometimes love isn't enough when someone refuses to help themselves. His friends had rallied around him. My phone had blown up with messages from mutual acquaintances asking if I was okay, if I'd really broken up with him while recovering from surgery, if I understood what I was throwing away. His mother had even called, her psychiatrist voice dripping with professional concern as she suggested I was having a mental health crisis and needed intervention. I'd blocked them all. Every single one. Well, almost all. I'd kept Derek unblocked for one specific reason. I wanted to see what he'd do next. And watching his social media spiral had been oddly therapeutic, like studying a specimen under glass. 3 weeks after our breakup, he'd posted photos with a woman named Brittany, a marketing consultant at a rival firm, blonde, polished, everything he'd probably wanted me to be. The caption, "When you stop settling, life gets better." 2 months after that, they were engaged. 4 months after that, I received a wedding invitation in the mail. Formal, expensive cardstock, my name written in elegant calligraphy, Ms. Maya Rodriguez and guest. Jenna had been incredulous. "He invited you to his wedding? The audacity is actually impressive." I'd turned the invitation over in my hands, studying it. "He wants me to see what I lost. He wants me to watch him marry someone better." "You're not going." "Oh, I'm absolutely going." That had been 2 months ago. Since then, I'd been planning. Not revenge exactly, more like poetic justice. A full circle moment. Derek had left me alone during one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. It seemed only fair to return the favor during one of his. The day of the wedding arrived with perfect late spring weather. I'd chosen my outfit carefully, a stunning emerald dress that made my skin glow, elegant but not attention-seeking. I wore my hair up, my grandmother's pearl earrings, and the confidence of someone who'd spent 6 months learning to love themselves. I arrived alone. No guest, despite the invitation's allowance. I didn't need one. The ceremony was at an old estate outside the city, all manicured gardens and marble fountains. Expensive. Derek's parents had probably paid for it. They loved throwing money at things to make them appear perfect. I slipped into a seat near the back, watching as guests filtered in. I recognized many of them, Derek's work colleagues, his college friends, family members I'd met during our 3 years together. Some noticed me and did double takes. A few whispered to each other, probably wondering what I was doing there. Let them wonder. The ceremony began precisely on time. Derek stood at the altar in a tailored tuxedo, looking nervous and excited in equal measure. His best man, Michael, who'd once told me I was high maintenance at a party, stood beside him, adjusting his own jacket. Then the music swelled, and Brittany appeared. She looked beautiful. I could admit that objectively. Her dress was a flowing creation of silk and lace, her makeup flawless, her smile radiant. She walked down the aisle on her father's arm, and I watched Derek's face transform with emotion. For a moment, just a moment, I wondered if I'd made a mistake coming here. If this was just torturing myself, watching the man I'd spent 3 years with marry someone else 6 months after our breakup. Then I remembered the hospital, the pain, the loneliness, his voice calling me dramatic, his Instagram post, the therapy suggestion from his mother. No, I was exactly where I needed to be. The ceremony proceeded with typical wedding pageantry. Vows were exchanged, rings were placed, meaningful glances were shared. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife and Derek kissed Brittany, the guests erupted in applause. I clapped along with everyone else, my face a mask of pleasant indifference. The reception was in a grand ballroom adjacent to the ceremony space. Round tables draped in ivory linens, centerpieces of roses and peonies, a live band already setting up in the corner. I found my assigned seat, table 12, far from the head table, surrounded by people I didn't know. Perfect. Dinner was served, a choice between filet mignon and Chilean sea bass. I'd barely touched my fish when Derek appeared at the microphone for his first speech as a married man. "I want to thank everyone for being here today," he began, his voice carrying that public speaking polish he'd perfected in his marketing career. "Brittany and I are so grateful to have you all here to celebrate with us." He launched into a story about how they met, how he'd known she was special, how she'd saved him from a dark place he'd been in before. The implication was clear to anyone who knew our timeline. I was the dark place. She was the salvation. I took a sip of wine and waited. The speeches continued. Brittany's maid of honor, giggling through a story about their college days. Derek's father, gruff and brief, welcoming Brittany to the family. Derek's mother, Patricia Morrison, the psychiatrist, going on at length about the importance of partnership and mental health in relationships. That one stung, but I kept my expression neutral. Then came the dancing. First dance, father-daughter dance, mother-son dance, all the traditional moments. The band transitioned to upbeat music, and guests flooded the dance floor. I stayed at my table, observing, waiting. Derek and Brittany worked the room like the power couple they apparently were, stopping at each table to thank guests personally. I watched them get closer, table by table, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then they were at table 12. Derek saw me and froze mid-step. His face cycled through several emotions, surprise, confusion, anger, something that might have been embarrassment. Brittany, who'd been smiling graciously at the other guests, followed his gaze and her expression tightened. "Maya," Derek's voice was carefully controlled. "I didn't think you'd actually come." "You invited me," I said pleasantly, standing to greet them properly. "It would have been rude not to." Brittany's grip on Derek's arm visibly tightened. Up close, I could see she was even younger than I'd thought. Mid-20s, probably. Her eyes were wary, assessing me like competition. "This is Brittany," Derek said unnecessarily. "My wife." "Congratulations," I said, extending my hand to her. She shook it limply. "You look beautiful. The ceremony was lovely." "Thank you." Her voice was higher than I expected, sweet and slightly uncertain. "Derek mentioned you two used to date." "For 3 years," I confirmed, watching Derek's jaw clench. "Though I'm sure he's told you all about it." "Some," Brittany said carefully. An awkward silence descended. The other guests at the table were watching with poorly concealed interest, sensing drama. "Well," Derek said, moving to step away. "Thanks for coming, Maya. We should—" "Actually, Derek, I was hoping we could talk for a moment." I kept my voice light, casual. Just to catch up. It's been a while. This isn't really the time. Please. I let a hint of my old people-pleasing self show through. Just 5 minutes. For old time's sake. Brittany looked between us, clearly uncomfortable. But Derek, ever conscious of appearances, forced a smile. Sure, 5 minutes. He kissed Brittany's cheek. I'll be right back, babe. I led him away from the reception toward a quiet corridor that led to the estate's gardens. Behind us, I could feel Brittany's eyes following, suspicious and uneasy. Once we were alone, Derek's polite mask dropped. What are you doing here, Maya? I told you. You invited me. That was a courtesy invitation. No one actually expected you to show up. He crossed his arms, defensive. Are you here to cause a scene? To ruin my wedding? Why would I do that? I leaned against the corridor wall, genuinely curious about his thought process. You clearly moved on. You're married now. Happy, presumably. I am happy. He said it too quickly, too emphatically. Brittany is amazing. She's supportive, stable, drama-free. Everything I needed. I'm glad. And I meant it, surprisingly. Not glad for him specifically, but glad that he'd found whatever it was he'd been looking for. She seems nice. Derek studied me suspiciously. So what do you want? Why did you need to talk? I wanted to see you, I said honestly, to see if I still felt anything. And? There was something almost hopeful in his voice, like part of him wanted me to still be pining. I don't. I smiled, feeling the truth of it settle in my bones. I don't feel anything at all, Derek. And I needed to know that before I could really move forward. His expression shifted to something ugly. Well, congratulations on your closure. Can I get back to my wedding now? In a minute. I straightened from the wall. I do have one question, though. He sighed dramatically. What? Do you ever think about that night at the hospital? The question clearly caught him off guard. What? The night you left me alone during emergency surgery. Do you ever think about it? Feel bad about it? Wonder if maybe you made the wrong choice? Derek's face flushed. Are we seriously doing this? On my wedding day? I'm just curious. You spent so much time telling me I was dramatic, that I needed therapy, that I was unstable. But I had appendicitis, Derek. A serious medical condition, and you left me alone because you didn't want to miss dinner with your parents. I came back the next morning, after it was over, after I'd gone through surgery alone. I kept my voice level, factual, and then you posted on Instagram about being there for me. I was there for you? His voice rose, echoing in the corridor. I took care of you afterward. I came to your apartment for a conference call and to lecture me about being needy. Because you are needy, Maya. You were then, and clearly you still are if you're bringing this up at my wedding. He was fully angry now, the careful public persona shredding. This is exactly why we didn't work. You can't let anything go. Everything has to be a production, a drama, a crisis. I had emergency surgery, and you've been holding it over my head ever since. He stepped closer, pointing his finger at me. You know what? Brittany would never do this. She's mature. She's reasonable. She doesn't create problems where there aren't any. That's good, I said calmly. I hope she never gets appendicitis then. What's that supposed to mean? It means I hope she never finds out what happens when she inconveniences you with a medical emergency. I hope she never sees the side of you that prioritizes appearances over actual care. Derek's face was red now, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. You need to leave. Now. I will. In a minute. I pulled my phone from my clutch. But first, I have something to show you. I don't want to see. I turned the phone toward him. On the screen was his Instagram post from that night. Him looking concerned, me barely visible in the hospital bed behind him. Relationship goals, Dao Chiua best boyfriend, Shao's support system. Do you remember posting this? I asked. So what? I was supporting you. I swiped to the next image. A screenshot of his location data from that night, showing him at the restaurant until 11 p.m., then at a hotel bar until 2 a.m. I'd obtained it through perfectly legal means. He'd had his location sharing on for our entire relationship and never turned it off. You weren't at the hospital during my surgery, I said quietly. You were having drinks. You showed up the next morning, took a selfie to prove you were there, and created a false narrative. Derek's face went pale. How did you never turned off location sharing. I could see exactly where you were that whole night. I swiped again. And here's what's interesting. I did some digging, talked to some people, found out some things. The next image was a screenshot of messages between Derek and Michael, his best man, from that night. Derek. Maya's having some surgery thing, playing it up for attention as usual. Michael. Dude, ditch her. She's exhausting. Derek. Seriously considering it. Been thinking about breaking up for months. This is the final straw. Michael. Do it after the surgery. Otherwise you look like the bad guy. Derek. Smart. I'll wait a week or two, then have the I need someone more stable conversation. Derek stared at the screenshot, his face cycling through expressions. You hacked my phone? You gave me your password 2 years ago and never changed it. Not hacking, just reading. I put the phone away. But here's the thing, Derek. I didn't come here for revenge. I came here to make a choice. What choice? Whether to show these to Brittany. The color drained from his face completely. You wouldn't. Why not? She should know who she married. The guy who fakes being supportive for social media. The guy who planned to dump his girlfriend in the hospital but waited to avoid looking bad. The guy who... I pulled up another screenshot. Started messaging Brittany 2 weeks before we broke up. His mouth opened and closed soundlessly. Yeah, I found those too. You were already building your exit strategy, lining up the replacement, while I was recovering from surgery. I tilted my head. Does she know that? That you were texting her while you were supposedly taking care of me? Maya, please. His voice dropped to a desperate whisper. Don't do this. It's my wedding day. I know. Just like I knew it was my surgery day when you left me alone. I watched him process the parallel, saw the moment he understood. Here's what's going to happen, Derek. I'm going to leave your wedding right now. I'm going to walk out quietly, no scene, no drama. And I'm going to delete every screenshot, every piece of evidence. I have. Hope flickered across his face. You are? Yes. 'Cause I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this for closure. I stepped past him, heading back toward the reception. But Derek? He turned, desperate and relieved in equal measure. If you ever, and I mean ever, tell anyone that I was the dramatic one, the unstable one, the one who needed therapy? I met his eyes, letting him see the steel in mine. I'll send every single screenshot to Brittany, your mother, your boss, and every single person who liked that hospital Instagram post. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you really are. You can't. I absolutely can, and I will. I smiled, sweet and cold. See, the thing about actually being dramatic, when you do it, it has impact. And trust me, Derek, I could make a scene that would eclipse this entire wedding. I started to walk away, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. I saw Dr. Chen last month for a follow-up. Everything healed perfectly. She asked about you, actually. I told her we'd broken up. Know what she said? Derek just stared at me, speechless. She said, "Good. You deserve someone who shows up." And you know what? She was right. I adjusted my clutch, preparing to leave. Enjoy your marriage, Derek. I genuinely hope Brittany never needs you during an actual crisis, for her sake. I walked back into the reception, head high, and went straight to my table to collect my things. A few people watched me curiously, but no one stopped me. I could see Brittany at the head table, her eyes tracking my movement, probably wondering what Derek and I had discussed. Let her wonder. Let her ask him. Let him lie or tell the truth. Either way, she'd learned something about the man she married. I was almost to the exit when I heard footsteps behind me. "Maya, wait." I turned to find Brittany, still in her wedding dress, slightly out of breath from hurrying after me. "Can I help you?" I asked politely. She looked nervous, young, uncertain. "What did you and Derek talk about?" "That's between Derek and me." "Please." Her voice cracked slightly. "I need to know. Did he do something? He came back looking upset, and then you're leaving, and everyone's whispering." I studied her, this woman who'd married Derek Morrison 6 months after I'd broken up with him. This woman who probably thought she'd won some kind of prize. "Brittany," I said gently, "can I ask you something? Have you ever been really sick? Like, emergency room sick?" She blinked, confused by the question. I had my wisdom teeth out last year." "And where was Derek?" "He took me home after. Brought me ice cream. Made sure I had my pain meds." She said it defensively, like she was proving something. "That's good." And it probably was good, as far as it went. Have you ever had something happen when he had important plans? Work thing? Family thing? Her expression shifted, something uncertain crossing her face. Why are you asking this?" "Because I'm wondering if he's different with you than he was with me. I'm wondering if maybe I really was the problem, like he said." I shouldered my bag. "Or if you just haven't inconvenienced him yet." "He loves me," she said, but it sounded more like a question than a statement. "I'm sure he does in his way." I meant it. Derek wasn't evil, just profoundly selfish. Just keep your location sharing on, and pay attention to what he does when things are hard, not just when they're easy. I left her standing there in her wedding dress, looking confused and worried, and walked out into the spring evening. My phone buzzed as I waited for my Uber. "Jenna, how'd it go? Did you burn the place down?" Me. "Better." I walked away with my head high and my conscience clear. "Jenna, that's my girl. Come over. I have wine and we're watching terrible rom-coms." The Uber arrived and I slid into the back seat, watching the estate disappear behind me. My phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from an unknown number. I opened it and felt a smile spread across my face. "Dr. Chen. Maya, hope you don't mind. I'm texting from my personal phone. I'm actually at a wedding tonight and I could swear I just saw you leave. Small world. How are you feeling? How's everything healing?" I stared at the message, then started laughing. Of course Dr. Chen was here. She'd probably been Derek's parents' guest. His mother was a psychiatrist. They probably ran in the same medical circles. Me. "Dr. Chen, yes, that was me. Everything's healed perfectly thanks to you, and I'm doing much better in every way." Dr. Chen. "Glad to hear it. And Maya? I saw you walking out with your head high. Whatever happened in there, you handled it with grace. Proud of you." I held the phone to my chest, feeling something warm and healing spread through me. This was closure. Not revenge, not drama, not burning anything down. Just choosing myself, choosing dignity, and walking away from someone who'd never deserved me in the first place. 3 months later, I got a Facebook message from Brittany. We'd never been friends, never followed each other on social media, so seeing her name in my messages was surprising. I opened it. Maya, I hope this message finds you well. I know we don't really know each other, but I need to ask you something. Derek told me you broke up because you were dramatic and unstable. He's used that to explain a lot of things. Why I shouldn't trust certain things you said, why his friends don't like you, why his mother thinks you need help. But lately, I've noticed some things. How he dismisses my concerns. How he's never around when I really need him. How he posts about being supportive on social media, but doesn't actually show up in real life. I remembered what you said at the wedding about keeping my location sharing on. I checked it last week when I had a terrible flu, and he said he was working late. He was at a bar with Michael until 2 a.m. I need to know, was it really you, or was it him? I read the message 3 times, feeling a complicated mix of emotions. Vindication, sadness for her, relief that I'd gotten out when I did. I typed back, Brittany, I can't tell you what to do or how to feel about your marriage, but I can tell you this. I had emergency appendix surgery, and he left me alone at the hospital to have dinner with his parents. He called me dramatic for being in pain. He posted on social media about supporting me while I was unconscious in surgery. And when I broke up with him the next day, he told everyone I was unstable. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. And you deserve someone who shows up. What you do with that information is entirely up to you. Take care of yourself. Maya. I sent it and then immediately blocked her. Not out of anger, but out of boundary setting. Her marriage, her choices, her path to walk. I'd given her the truth. What she did with it was her decision. Jenna, reading over my shoulder from the couch, whistled low. Think she'll leave him? I don't know, I said honestly. Took me 3 years to see it clearly. Maybe she's faster. Maybe she's not. Either way, you did the right thing. I nodded, setting my phone down and picking up my wine glass. I know. Because I had. I'd walked away from Derek Morrison with my dignity intact. I'd chosen myself over someone who saw me as an inconvenience. I'd learned that being alone was infinitely better than being with someone who made me feel alone. And on a spring day 6 months after the worst night of my life, I'd walked out of Derek's wedding knowing exactly who I was and exactly what I deserved. Not someone who showed up for Instagram, not someone who called my pain dramatic, not someone who needed me to be perfect and convenient and small. Someone who showed up. Someone who cared. Someone who saw my worth and reflected it back to me. I hadn't found that person yet, but I'd found something better. I'd found myself. And that was more than enough. My phone buzzed one more time. Dr. Chen. Coffee next week? I have a colleague I think you should meet. He's a physical therapist, recently divorced, loves hiking, and actually shows up when he says he will. No pressure, just thought you might enjoy meeting him. I smiled, typing back. Coffee sounds perfect. But Dr. Chen? This time I'm good whether I meet him or not. I'm already whole. Dr. Chen. That's exactly why I think you should meet him. I set the phone down, curled up next to Jenna on the couch, and pressed play on our movie. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, I was finally, completely at peace. Derek Morrison had called me dramatic and left me at the hospital. I'd walked away from his wedding with grace, and in the end, that was the best revenge of all, living well, loving myself, and never looking back. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass. These up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.